Hey everybody, welcome to the stream. This is the advice stream. I'm your host, Jeremy International. We were gonna stream video games today. I bought a new piece of equipment that was gonna make streaming from my basement, where all my video game stuff is, easier, and then never bothered to start setting it up till about 30 minutes ago, and I couldn't get it to work. So there won't be any games today. We're just gonna be in the studio, hanging out. We'll stream for a little while, see how it goes. We're going to be joined in just a moment here by my friend and yours, Oldman. I'm sure, like we always do, we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. If you would like to seek advice during the show today, you can always go to JeremyInternational.com in the down there area. We can submit questions and all kinds of stuff from there as well. We have a few people already that are checking in on Twitch. We're live on Twitch. We're live on YouTube. I'm looking everywhere but the camera right now. Now look at the camera, he said. Let's, boy, I have done nothing right today. So give me just a second while I get ready to bring in our guest. That's still there, that's working. And then we're gonna do one of these and edit properties and then do one of these and hit done. And then, is that working? It is working. All right. And there we go. Hey, Oldman.
Hello.
How's it? I know this is a loaded question, but I was going to ask, how's it going? First thing I want to say is, you look good. That's a good thing. Sometimes when you don't feel good, you gotta look good. And I like the clean shaven. You look youthful.
Oh yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that, but thank you.
I hope that sound is coming through okay for everyone. You sound a little low, like volume-wise to me, I'm just realizing now, but I also don't think there's anything I can do about that. So we're just gonna bear with us. So, Oldman and I are old friends, people. Before I say anything else, I just want to say we may or may not have some new viewers. I see that there's a few people over on Twitch today. If you haven't been on the show before, feel free to say hi. If you would like to ask for questions or give advice to us, because I think we're going to be talking about all kinds of nonsense today, then you can do so as well. We usually do all kinds of stuff. We do like unofficial sponsors and we talk about video games, and maybe we'll get into all of that later. But I feel like now that I'm saying this out loud, this seems like a weird thing to do, but I wanted to have some time to hang out with my friend Oldman. And I guess we're going to do it live on the internet because we're doing it live. So, I don't know, dude, what do you want to talk about? You don't have to talk about anything if you want to. I can figure out some other things to talk about. Do you want to vent? Do you want advice, or do you want a distraction?
Maybe a little bit of all three. That sounds good to me. I am having a hard time. I'm having a real hard time. I posted about it in the Facebook group that maybe perhaps some people that are in the audience know about. And I am embarking upon a brave new journey to the final frontier of my life. Hopefully not the final.
An additional frontier.
An additional frontier of my life. A new career on the horizon. Not under the best of circumstances. I gotta move house. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do next. And let's maybe, like, if I'm gonna be rambling about this, as I have been to many of my closest and dearest recently, let's start out with an idea that I just had for what I might do that made me feel a little bit of hope. And that is, I could be an LSAT tutor easily.
Yeah, that seems like a good. People pay big money for that, right?
Yeah, and I could transition out of the law because, as some people in our audience know, I'm a lawyer. Okay, I can speak louder.
let me see what else I can figure out here.
Okay, but for now, I'll just speak a little louder, and that's okay. I'm fine with projecting my voice, and that's something that I'll have to do if I become an LSAT tutor,
That is
if it's
true.
possible. Uh, and okay, so one of the reasons why this notion makes me feel a little bit of hope is that well, I've been lost. I've been lost the past 2 weeks since I lost my job, and thankfully I have a little bit of a runway to the next step until the end of September. But okay, moving forward, uh, yeah. So I've been lost. I haven't known what I'm gonna do next, and all of the options seemed like they were closed off, or they would be things that I didn't want to do. I had this idea that maybe I would want to become a teacher, and that's still something that appeals to me. But being an LSAT tutor would be a great way to like dip my toes into that. And so anyway, I had this idea about being an LSAT tutor, and right before the show, I decided I was gonna, get what was my LSAT score again? Well, where's the official report from 2009 when I took the LSAT? And I looked it up, and I found it, and I saw while I was looking for it, I had forgotten this, but before I actually like became a fully fledged attorney doing lawyer things, I right after law school, I did I already knew that I didn't really want to be a lawyer, or I thought that I didn't want to be a lawyer, and I sent out applications to become an LSAT tutor way back in 2009. In fact, I interviewed to become an LSAT tutor, and if I hadn't gotten this job for the last 12ish years, um, I would have been an LSAT tutor this whole time anyway.
Oldman, I'm going to interrupt you
So,
for just a second. I'm going to try a quick fix for the audio to see if we can get you to sound a little bit better. Um, can you say
now
something?
you're
Oh, that's better.
la 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 la.
That's way better on my end. I let me know. Computer Goes 7. But by the way, I don't know if you've been on the stream before. Nice to meet you, Computer Goes 7. Thanks for joining us. This is the advice stream, by the way. We're being joined by Oldman, and I think
That's
we
great.
we just made a big audio breakthrough.
Great.
I kind of sort of know how to use computers, but not super good. Oldman, I'll say I have done teaching in the past, and it's been my amongst the favorite things that I've ever done. I miss teaching. I don't get to do it very much in my current job, and I think teaching is up there with uh, like saving people's lives and stuff as far as rewarding and important jobs to do. Even if you're just helping people with the LSATs, maybe you help someone pass an LSAT and they're the next Thurgood Marshall or whatever. So,
Or even better, maybe they're the next LSAT instructor for their lives.
sure. Either way, I think you'd be really good at that job, and I'd imagine that it's a pretty good gig as far as things go.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like it's just an idea that I had a few moments ago, right
Yeah,
before the show. But it was like a trip down memory lane. The fact that I had forgotten about, oh yeah, I tried to go down this road, and if I hadn't if I hadn't fallen into this other track, that's where I would be right now, and it makes sense in a lot of ways. So that gives me a little bit of hope. Like I said, I have been lost these past few weeks,
yeah.
putting out job applications every day, in like a scattershot, disorganized manner because I don't know how to look for a job.
No, me neither.
Um, and just like looking at the kinds of stuff that's out there, and even the stuff that like I could get pumped about, doing in terms of like the cause or whatever. The actual doing day to day of it seems terrible to me and terrifying, and not something that I'm qualified for because that's not the kind of stuff that I've done in the past. But who knows? who knows? I'm gonna keep looking and trying to keep my options open, and it's good that I have like a little bit of a runway till the end of September to get this stuff done. But then, then there's the moving house,
Yeah.
selling house, a billion other things pressing in on me at the moment, and it's been really hard.
Yeah. Life has a way of doing that. You get thrown a an unexpected and unpleasant thing, and then you get thrown another one, and then another one. I'm sure, Oldman, you've heard me say this before, and people that have watched the show for a while probably heard me say this before too. But there's this book I read when I was in college a million years ago called Bird by Bird. It's by Anne Lamott, and it was for a reading class, and it's about how to start projects. And I honestly don't remember anything at all about that book except for the story that she tells where, like, when she was a kid, like, her little brother had to do a school project for, like, over the course of the whole year where he needed to make a little report about like 20 different birds or something, and he didn't do
Mm-hmm.
it until the last minute, and it was due the next day, so the whole family stayed up all night and helped him with the report. And the way that they did it is they took it bird by bird. So when I feel overwhelmed and I have a lot of things on my plate and I'm starting to feel like I can't manage it all, that's I think about the only part of that book I remember, which is sometimes you just got to take it step by step. I feel like finding a job is probably the thing that's going to take the longest amount of time. Um, and like everyone, I was unemployed for 9 months 2 years ago, and I applied for jobs every day. Everyone says that looking for a job is a job, and I
Yeah.
hated every second of it. I was miserable. It was lots of rejection and hopelessness, and then stress about having enough money and trying to get unemployment benefits, which is always a hassle. And it sucked. But you do it long enough, and then you find a job. Here's the advice that a baby boomer gave me about looking for a job, and I am not generally inclined to take advice from baby boomers, but it turned out to be correct. Is this guy said you don't get the job by applying for jobs. You should apply for jobs because it's important that you're doing that. First off, you need to show if you're going to get unemployment benefits like I did, you have to demonstrate that you're applying for jobs on a regular basis. And applying for jobs is a skill in and of itself. But the way that you get the job is you meet somebody that says this guy should have the job. If your resume is just going into a pile of everybody else's resumes, then they're not going to see it because they don't look at any of them. They're going to give the job to the person that they know that's not fair, that's not just, that has all kinds of racist and classist elements to it. But you're not going to fix that by being unemployed. And that's how it works, at least right now. Hopefully, it doesn't forever. So you have to know people uh, that will help you get the job, because your resume and a stack of resumes is never. They're going to give the job to someone that they know always.
Yeah, that's not helpful for me.
I know. Well, and the way that I got my job finally after 9 months of nonstop applying is my partner had a computer problem, and the guy on the tech support company that she works with couldn't fix it. And she said my husband could fix it, and he's like, "Well, have your husband call my boss," and then that's how I got my job. Um,
I was gonna say maybe your partner, if she knows anybody that might want my skill set in like the writing realm or editing or
yeah,
reviewing
but
realm.
like, I mean, that's the like, and I hate LinkedIn because LinkedIn is so like entrepreneurial culture in a really
Yeah, I
toxic
hate
and
it too,
gross way.
but I've been on it a lot.
And like, you have the button that says I'm open for work, and then you can like share
Right.
that with everybody. It
Yeah.
sucks, but I mean, as far as all of the other things in the world that can happen to us, that sucks. That it is a numbers game. You apply for enough jobs, you will eventually get a job. It might not be
Yeah.
your dream job right away. Also, one of the things I learned is that I don't have a dream job. My dream job is no job. So whatever,
Yeah.
the idea of having a job where I'm super jazzed to wake up every morning and go do it isn't super realistic for me. But we all got to work anyways. And the job I have, I like. I don't love it, but I wouldn't love any job. But I like it.
Hmm. Yeah. This is a very new idea for me, but I like the kind of puzzles that they have in the LSAT. And I found out, in the 30, 45 minutes since I had this idea before the show, they got rid of my least favorite portion of the LSAT. They got rid of the logic puzzles. And the logic puzzles are awful. Some people like logic puzzles. I hate them. I didn't do well on that part. They have, like, the LSAT itself has nothing to do with the law whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, at least they got rid of the worst part of it. And yeah, the rest of it is kind of fun. It's reasoning and like, it's philosophy light type stuff, and maybe I could enjoy that. I don't know. This is such a new idea. I have no clue about the realities of it.
It feels good to have a little
But
bit of like hope though, right? Like it feels good to have an idea of the next
yeah,
thing to do.
it does, like, some kind of idea. I
Yeah.
had no kind of idea. I mean, other than just like the jobs I've been applying to, which, like I said before, I'm not super jazzed about. But anyway, I have not been taking care of myself, and I've been mired in depression and anxiety
Yeah.
and fear for about 3 weeks. And I'm having a hard time of it. I feel like I might have to give up Jordy, um, because I have to move somewhere, and wherever I move has to be scaled down substantially from where I am now. And
Jordy's your dog, just for people that
oh,
are watching it
sorry,
right now.
yeah,
Jordy's a dog.
Jordy is a dog.
Uh huh.
And that's depressing. And like, I wouldn't say that things were going great at the job that I had,
Uh huh.
but it was, it
Stable.
was what I'd been doing. It
Yeah.
was stable. It
It was
had been stable,
familiar.
seemed
Yeah.
stable. It was familiar. I was good at it. But I was not happy, in that job either. Uh, so who knows? Like, I really want to believe that there's going to be a silver lining to this, and maybe someday I'll be able to identify it. Maybe, going down this education track that I had been thinking about since, I graduated from law school will be, a return to who I really am. I don't know. We'll see. But in the meantime, there's so much in between me, like right now, and finding some stability and a new life that yeah, I'm having a hard time imagining it. Like, how is it going to happen? So anyway, I don't want to bring you down too much, bud, but and I'm not sure what kind of advice, other than the advice you gave, is the right advice to give. But one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other is all I can do.
Yeah. No, I understand that, and uh well, let's take a little break here. Amir's joined the chat. Hey, Amir, it's good to see you. Amir says, "What's up, guys? Today I used a phrase I learned from Jeremy stream some time ago, meeting people where they are. It randomly came to mind, and it also made sense to the person I was talking to. Well, technically, Amir, if you want to quote me, it's meet people where they're at. But you said it more accurately English wise than I do. But it's good to see you, Amir. For people that are joining us now, I had big plans to play video games tonight, and I started messing with my streaming setup, and I broke it, and I wasn't able to get it functional again before we wanted to go live. So we're not. I mean, I guess I'm sitting in front of my Mac, and hypothetically, we could play a game from my Mac if we wanted to. I got something on there, but right now, just Oldman and I are hanging out and catching up. Oldman hasn't been on the stream in a while, and Oldman was just sharing with us some of the very overwhelming. I'm sorry that I'm laughing at that, Oldman, but
No, it is. I understand.
yeah,
It's too much for anyone.
I not that you asked, but it's called the advice stream. So I'll
Yeah.
I'll say a couple things. I haven't. I haven't been in your exact situation before, but I feel like I've certainly had my share of despair and hopeless feeling. There's clinical depression and there's situational depression, and I've certainly faced an awful lot of situational depression before. Anxiety, I think, is a natural reaction to what you're feeling right now. We've said this on the stream before too. If you're swimming in the ocean and you're scared of being bitten by a shark, that makes sense. If you're sitting on your sofa and you're scared of being bitten by a shark, uh, then something's gone wrong. And old man, regardless of what your normal state of anxiety is, you're in the
Hmm.
ocean, so you have a reason to
Yeah, I
feel
know.
anxious. Um,
That's what I was gonna say. Is like my general state of anxiety is already pretty high.
yeah,
Like I'm diagnosable. I diagnosed, in fact, and then the depression also
yeah,
diagnosed. So it's both situational and
yeah.
pathological,
It's a double
and
whammy.
it's a
the
double whammy.
the most important thing, I think, and I this is so easy to say and it's so difficult to do, is to find things that are positive to look forward to. Like in
Yeah,
your
right.
endless job search and trying to sell your house and upending your life in so many ways. Like even if it's just like, hey, I'm gonna watch this TV show or I'm gonna get pizza on Tuesday or whatever. Like having little things to look forward to if you can manage it are good. But I
Yeah.
know that's a thing that's so it's like saying go get some exercise. Like yeah, it's so easy to say go get exercise. But when you have mental or physical health struggles, those things can seem very difficult. That's all I got, my friend. I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
give you a
It's
hug.
fine.
I'm giving you a virtual hug.
Well, I got plenty of time now. Maybe I'll come visit you at some point soon.
Yeah.
Um, I I wish that I know that it's gonna come back around at some point in terms of being able to enjoy the little things. Um, but like even before I lost this job, and I was still pretty, I've been stressed out for since the beginning of the year. At least at night, I could come home and I could watch Star Trek and play a little bit of Balatro on the Switch and go to bed and get up and do it again the next day. And I had that little, space, that moment where I was able to just chill and zone out. Right now, I can't even do that,
Yeah.
which is really, really hard. It's like nonstop. The only thing that brings me a little bit of relief is talking to people who I care about. So I'm glad I'm on the stream tonight. I'm sorry that our tech problems almost got in our way once again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, most of the
And
tech
yeah,
problems this time were absolutely avoidable if I decided to not try to rewire the whole thing 30 minutes before. I thought it would be really easy. I bought this. Let's talk about that a little bit. I bought this. So, right now, I can either unplug a console from my basement and bring it up here. And I normally have a really easy and reliable streaming setup from any HDMI ready console. But I have to unplug it and carry it up here. And I'm really serious about cable management, and I don't like
hmm
having to re-hide all of the wires. So I bought a new gadget. It's called a Streamer X. It's from Rode, who also makes the mixer that I'm using here. They make really good stuff. And
hmm
so my idea was I have a 16 port HDMI switch. And this Streamer X allows you to route one HDMI in and then do a pass through to your TV. So I was going to
hmm
put that 16 HDMI switch through and it goes and put it to my TV, and that worked great right away. But then I couldn't figure out what else to do because I need that video out to come into something that I can capture to stream. And I couldn't get any of that to work. And then I plugged in my microphone and it wasn't passing through any of the audio from my microphone either. So I'm sure I'll get it to work. I just need to spend some time um, between now and when we do a live stream again to
Mm-hmm.
hammer it out. But I was so excited about that gadget, and I think it's going to fix all of those audio issues that you and I have when I'm streaming from the basement.
Well, I'd like to do this more regularly,
Yeah,
and I have lots of time now, so at least, if I can drag myself out of bed,
yeah,
and you can drag me out of bed. You can blow up my phone if you have to. That's totally okay with me. Uh, you'll be seeing more of me.
good.
Let's just say that.
I like
Let's
that
say that
idea.
and promise it. Let's promise it.
Well, and we got like there's a couple other. I mean, I know it's silly to be. I mean, I guess it's not silly. Uh, there's new Star Trek's coming out sometime this summer. We got a new season of Strange New Worlds, which has been really great. There's a Fantastic Four movie coming out in a couple months. That's
Mm-hmm.
massive for me, at least. Uh, our friend, I don't know if you've listened to it. Our friend Andrew Grossman has a new album out that's all
Oh
instrumental
shit!
and it's
I gotta hear that.
electronic and it's super chill. I describe it to people like if the theme song to Taxi was electronic. Is like the vibe of that whole album. You should listen to that. I'd like to be able to have more guests on. I'm super busy at nights for the next 2 weeks because I'm um, in my kids' ballet recital. Uh,
Oh my gosh, that's
and
so
yeah,
great! Return to form.
yeah, I know. And I it is unavoidable for me uh, to not be a familiar character, although in a very different type of costume for part of that show. So I can get you a video of that once it's done
Please.
if you want to. So I mean, I my life feels very small these days, and I suspect yours is even smaller now. And so when your
Yeah.
life is small, it kind of in some ways gets easier to make it feel full. And things like TV shows and movies or new music to listen to, new video games, uh, I don't know, to me seem like they're a much bigger deal than they used to be even a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's fine, especially as we all grow up and get older. It's not like I'd be going out and partying every night anymore,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, because that you don't do that as often when you have a kid. What are other positive things we can talk about? What was the last really good thing you ate?
Oh, I have not been feeding myself well. I
Yeah.
guess I had
I'm
an
not
okay
saying
dinner.
I'm not saying good like healthy or sustainable. Something that tasted good. We'll set the bar very low.
I mean, I made myself a pretty well done steak, or not well done. I did a, you know, medium rare steak the other night. Not the other night, 2 3 weeks ago now. But tonight I made some orzo with some seared tomatoes and some cut up chicken tenders, and that wasn't bad. Like as far as meals that I've made for myself recently,
Uh huh.
that was not bad at all.
Um, that sounds delicious, and uh, depending on what kind of chicken tenders it was potentially healthful. So that's
Mm-hmm.
good. Um,
If it had some basil, it would have been the best. It would have
yeah,
been actually very good.
that sounds also like lovely. Speaking of unhealthy food, I'm going to make a big controversial statement right now, but I'm going to go ahead and say that I have been really enjoying the occasional pizza from Papa John's lately. I hadn't gotten Papa John's
Oh
in a
yeah,
long time because the Papa John's guy is a garbage person, but I don't think
yeah.
he's there anymore. I think they kicked him out, and it's probably run by some giant conglomerate that's awful in a different way. But if you're going to get fast food pizza, they come with those little peppers. I'm into Papa John's right now. Is all I'm saying. That's our unofficial sponsor for the show this week. I just decided this episode of the Advice Stream is unofficially brought to you by Papa John's. If anyone from Papa John's is listening out there and you want to send me a coupon for some free pizza, I will.
They should
I'll
just
say
call
it
it
again.
John's now.
Yeah, or Papa's Pizza. That's even better. It's alliteration.
I guess. Yeah, Papa's is even better. That's right.
What else? Yeah. So Papa John's is Papa John slaps. That's official. You heard it here first. I also been we've talked about this a little bit before. I don't have cable or anything, and I really want to watch Jeopardy, the new episode of Jeopardy every day. So I rigged a TV antenna and a tuner so that I can record new episodes of Jeopardy every day on my computer and watch them when I want to. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, and there it goes to my Plex server, so you have access to it if you want to do some
Cool.
Jeopardy.
That
Old
sounds
man.
great, actually. That might be my new thing.
Yeah, I keeps it for 30 days, so it's getting full. Uh, and I am happy to say that I'm still killing it on Jeopardy. So I should. That's what we should do, old man. Is we should audition for Jeopardy.
Sure.
Okay, let's
Why
figure
not?
out how to do that. Maybe we can do
That's a
that.
career plan.
That is a career plan. Um, I bet you that the way you audition is you take some kind of online test. I'm sure that's how it works.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
maybe next week we can take that test together. That would be fun.
sure.
Um, other things that are happening. Haribo gummy bears are still the best. I ate a bunch of those the other day. I saw Thunderbolts. I like that. Thunderbolts was good. It's like
Thunderbolts.
yeah, it's like if A24 did a superhero movie, is
Oh,
Thunderbolts.
okay.
That's a good thing, I think. And otherwise, that's it. Just working, raising a kid, going to the grocery store. I'll tell you the story about why I'm in my kids' ballet recital.
Sure. Let's hear it.
So my daughter is 4 years old, and she's in like a pre-ballet class that's full of like 4 and 5 year olds. And you know when you take your kid to a class like that, and they go into the studio where they don't not really learning how to dance, but they're learning how to like follow instructions to run around in the right direction and stuff. And all the parents sit in the hallway because you can't leave your 4 year old unattended. And so I'm hanging out with all the other parents. It's almost always moms because I guess most dads don't usually do that sort of thing. And I one of the moms mentions that she had studied ballet when she was a little girl, and I mentioned also that I studied ballet in high school and college. My undergrad's in performing arts, and I been on stage performing in one way or another for a long time. I'm in the longest stretch of my life, probably since I was 11, where I haven't been on stage in a while. And so I guess I don't know. The teacher heard that story somehow. Maybe she was standing by the door, or one of the other parents told her or something. So the next class, the next week, I'm there again, and the teacher comes out and says, "Hey, you're Vivi's dad." That's my kid's name, and I heard that you have a background in dance and performance. When we do the recital at the end of the class, we always need a parent to help out on stage, was the terms that she used. And she
Mm-hmm.
asked me if I wanted to do that. And I thought that was cute. I'm imagining I'm in like a costume and I'm kind of like hurting the kids on stage and then hurting them off stage, and that's it. So that seems like fun. So I say yes. And then she tells me that a couple weeks ago that I should come in for rehearsal. And I go in for rehearsal, and that's not what any of this is. I misunderstood, or she didn't explain clearly. The recital is for the entire school of ballet students, and the kids my kids age just kind of come on and off for really brief, just like a couple minutes. But most of the production is the old kids that are like old teenagers. They're like 17 and
Mm-hmm.
18 year olds that are like dancing, on point, like serious ballet dancers. And I am on stage the entire time performing with them. I'm not doing a whole lot of dancing, although I'm doing a little bit, but like walking on stage and being a character and like driving the plot of the story forward. And I'm just in the cast. I'm not helping anybody with anything. It's so much more time and work than
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be.
But you're the perfect person for this. I don't know. I'm sure you've mentioned it on streams before, but you studied ballet. So
Yeah,
of
but
course you should do
I
this.
haven't done that. Was like 20 years ago. I'm old and it was a
But
long time ago. Um,
okay, sure, but like there's not that many like fathers out there who have studied ballet at all.
yeah, no, and I'm not complaining. I'm happy to do it. It's been fun so far and it's exciting. It's just, I don't have a lot of extra bandwidth right now. And if I
Sure,
had
I
known
understand.
how much uh, time and effort this was, I probably wouldn't have said yes. It's probably my fault for not paying attention. I'm sure the scope of all of this was clear before. But anyways, so I'm rehearsing tomorrow night, and then a bunch of days over the weekend, and then the show is the week after that, I think. Um, so yeah. Um,
No, that's wonderful.
let's do another quick call sign here. If you're just joining the show, this is the advice stream. I'm your host, Jeremy International. We're being joined by my old friend and yours, Oldman. I've been talking about all kinds of stuff. If you'd like to seek advice, you can always head over to JeremyInternational.com. There's a contact form at the bottom. You can also leave a tip there if you want to, but don't worry about it because no one ever has. And but we're just hanging out. Normally, we play video games, usually old video games, retro games. But I ruined my tech setup for that just before we went live, so not going to be able to pull that off today. We've been talking about feeling overwhelmed and lost in your life, and that feeling that we all get sometimes when we have more on our plate than we feel like we can handle. And that is a very real feeling, and it sucks. And Oldman's going through it pretty hard right now, and it's a rough time, my friend, and I'm sorry you got to go through this. But we've been talking about different ways we can think about kind of breaking things up. I shared some really not helpful advice I got from a baby boomer when I was on my job search that ended up weirdly working in the end. And that's how I got my current job. One of the other things, uh, like I always always go back. I don't know what I'm talking about. I always go back to Tolkien when I'm feeling overloaded. And there's a line in Lord of the Rings where Gandalf says we don't get to choose the times we live in. We just get to choose how we react to them. And that's not advice. That's just a thing. That's wisdom, I guess, from our friend J.R.R. He Tolkien was in the trenches in World War I, and I'm sure he knew a thing or two about despair and feeling lost and overwhelmed by the weight of the world in our lives. And I that gives me a little bit of comfort, at least, to think about that. You don't get to choose the times we live in. We live in scary and intense times, and it's likely to get worse before it gets worse.
Well, our friend Computer Ghost in the chat shared with me an Ursula K. Le Guin quote, which I could read to you,
Oh
which
yeah,
was
please.
helpful for me the other night.
Okay.
To find a new world, maybe you have to have lost one. Maybe you have to be lost. The dance of renewal, the dance that made the world, was always danced here at the edge of things, on the brink, on the foggy coast.
I like that a lot. Um, that's wonderful. I haven't read a lot of Ursula K. Le Guin. We did one of her books in our book club once that we never finished.
Oh,
Did
I
we?
love her. She's my I think she's my number one favorite author.
Oh wow.
Period.
Okay.
I just finished the fourth book in the Earthsea cycle after a long period. After I finished the third one like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and then I only picked up the fourth book in the series more recently. And this is just, I, a little bit of literary talk here. I had always gone around telling people, you don't have to read the second book in the Earthsea cycle because it doesn't have anything to do with the third book.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of just like a weird, like journey into a different kind of world with different characters. And then I read the fourth one, in which the main character of the second book comes back, and the main character of the first and third book comes back, and it ties it all up so neatly in such a beautiful way. It made me cry, and I felt bad about telling people, no, you don't need to read the second book. The second book doesn't matter, because
Uh-huh.
it does. It matters. It matters to an extreme extent if you want to continue with that series.
Yeah.
I've also read all of her sci-fi except for some short stories at this point.
Wow. I haven't read much of her stuff. I should check it out. I'm not reading a lot of fiction these days. When I'm actually like looking at a thing and reading it, I'm um, reading a lot of comics. But I've been doing a lot of audiobooks, and specifically, I've been
Yeah.
doing a lot of showbiz biography audiobooks, and those have all been really distracting. I did Mel Brooks's autobiography. I did Dick Van Dyke's autobiography. Now I'm doing a memoir from Carol Burnett about how she got her own variety show on network TV for
Mm-hmm.
11 years. And I've been enjoying all of those. Mel Brooks has, speaking of advice that no one asked for, Mel Brooks shot one of his early movies that I've never seen before. He shot somewhere uh, in Eastern Europe, like in the days of the Soviet Union, in like a Soviet bloc country. And there was his local interpreter that was like his guide, and was helping him a lot during the process of the shoot. Spoke really broken English, and he said he used to say all the time. This guy said, "Or you got it, or you ain't." It was his little catchphrase. And Mel Brooks is like, I still don't know what that means, but he says it all the time. Or you got it, or you ain't. And I thought that was funny. Um, but yeah, the interesting thing about those three people, about Mel Brooks and Dick Van Dyke and Carol Burnett, is Carl Reiner was such a central figure to all of their lives, and I didn't realize that when I
Hmm.
have been picking those books one at a time. And it's almost like a movie, like a cinematic universe where like Carl Reiner is like Nick Fury, and he assembles all of these ridiculously funny people over and over and over again.
I
Um,
just put Carl Reiner, the Wikipedia link in the chat for our younger
oh yeah,
viewers.
if you don't know, uh, Carl Reiner is no longer with us, but he's the father of Rob Reiner, who um, has directed a lot of movies that probably the kids have seen. Specifically, This Is Spinal Tap was Rob Reiner's. Like I think it's one of the funniest movies ever made. And if you don't know This Is Spinal Tap, you should watch This Is Spinal Tap. But Carl Reiner is the father of the director of This Is Spinal Tap. Just for context, if there's a way that anybody that hasn't seen it before can go and watch the Dick Van Dyke show, the original sitcom from the '60s, you should watch that show because it is also super funny and weirdly holds up pretty well. Um, yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I read comics and I listen to audiobooks. I'm not even listening to podcasts anymore. I'm let myself look at the news once or twice a day, but that's about it.
Yeah, the news has been. I used to be such a news hound
Me
for the
too.
past my whole life. I've been such a news hound, and like I cannot look at it right
Mm-mm.
now.
You
Not
you
just
more than
because
me.
it's such. Yeah, just because. Yeah, it's not just because it's so bad, and like there's so many awful things going on. There have always been awful things going on, but at the same time, like for me, first of all, it very directly impacted my life very
Yeah.
recently with all this stuff that's going on. And and then, I just don't like, I don't have the bandwidth for it right now, unfortunately. I'd like to be out there offering my takes on things, but I don't have it in me at the moment to be even doing that. And I was gonna say, I don't know if I may have mentioned this before, but I made a decision like late last year, that from now on, probably like in most circumstances when I'm like reading fiction, I'm going to be doing it on an audiobook
Yeah.
format, because that seems, I mean, like that's the original way that people did storytelling in the first place. I don't
Yeah.
think that you're not faking it if you listen to an
Yeah.
audiobook, and especially not a fiction audiobook.
No, nobody wrote
Um,
anything down Shakespeare wrote until after he was dead. Or like the Odyssey, like people never wrote that down until that story had been being passed around for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Wait, Shakespeare didn't write his folios? Is that what you just said?
His work wasn't published in a way that people could buy it until after he was dead. His friends, as a memorial to him, paid for the initial folios to be printed. Shakespeare's works
That's
were
really
not
interesting.
printed. I mean, I'm sure they were written down because they were scripts, so
Yeah.
people had to write them down to learn them and deliver them, but nothing was actually put in print until after he was dead. Interesting, because this is something I know a couple of things about. The Folger Shakespeare Theater in DC has the biggest collection of those early printed works of Shakespeare, the folios, as they're called.
Interesting.
And they have a version of Romeo and Juliet where Romeo doesn't die at the end.
What
Um,
happens?
Juliet dies, and then Romeo's like, "Oh no, I'm real sad," and then that's how it ends. And the no one knows why that version's different, but it brings up a really good question: is how accurate the printed versions that came out after Shakespeare was gone? How accurate are those to the actual performances that were being
It
done?
makes me wonder if the performances themselves might have varied.
Yeah, I'm sure that they did. Um, I mean, like I've been in plays before. I've been in performances before where we have a script and the director guides us through rehearsal and building a show together. And then the director that we open and the director goes away and we're still doing the show. And we can make changes to dialogue. We can, if you're not doing Shakespeare, that people in the audience might have memorized anyways. And so shows evolve over time as they're run, especially if there's not anyone there that's like making people get back in line and do it some specific way that they had. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that happened all the time. And by the time those were printed, Shakespeare was gone. He couldn't have been like, "Hey, that's not right." So who knows?
Right there,
The
it's like
version,
the canonical version versus probably something that may have been more freewheeling,
yeah.
when they actually first were doing the performances. Interesting.
I love that because that's how art works. Is you make a thing and you put it in front of an audience and then it's not yours anymore, and you don't get to decide what it means to
Mm-hmm.
people, and and you don't even get to decide what it is anymore to an extent, especially if it's something collaborative like a play. That once you give it to the cast and you open, it belongs to the cast and the audience, and you the writer have very little control over what it becomes, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's beautiful.
It is.
I can just imagine though, like the guys running the printing press, reading it and being like, "Oh, this is ends on a real big bummer. Let's just change it because I don't like how it ends." And they just changed it, and there wasn't any. I mean, they didn't have like copyright law or anything then. So, um, but yeah, how do we get on that conversation?
I'm
Um,
not sure.
it was my birthday. Speaking of plays, it was my birthday a few weeks ago, and the Shakespeare Theater Company in DC was doing a production of a Chekhov play of Uncle Vanya. Chekhov is one of my favorite playwrights, and so we got tickets to go see it. And it had been a long day. My partner and I had been working, and I do technical support for her organization. So we were working in the office together after a long day. And then there was a happy hour for her work afterwards where they gave us lots of wine to drink because it was my birthday. and we never really had much to eat. And we go in the play, and then both of us fall asleep like immediately. And we
Oh
don't
no.
during intermission. I was like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here, get something to eat. So we only saw maybe part of half of the play, and then we left after intermission. And I feel bad. The tickets were expensive, and it was something I was really looking forward to. But
Hmm.
day gets out from under you sometimes, and it was still it was a nice day.
There's a Chekhov's gun joke in there somewhere where you went in the first act, you fell asleep, and
Yeah.
then you left. I can't formulate it right now, but I'm sure there's some Chekhov's gun joke you could make about that.
Oh man, I thought of a joke about that too. What was it? It's like Chekhov's gun, but then it was somebody else's crossbow. What was I watching? It was like an. I'm never gonna remember. You know how you look in your when you're trying to remember something, you look in your brain and you can sense that it's there, and you have to keep thinking about it, and eventually you'll get it. And then other times you're like looking through your brain to find something you can't remember, and you know right away it's not in there. I'm never gonna find it. I've forgotten it forever.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Yeah,
just happened to me.
it happens to me more and more.
Yeah, 404, not not found. Um, we should probably be wrapping it up in a little bit. If for the folks that are watching at home, though, a question I would love to hear because I think we all benefit from this. Or what are things that you do to help deal with the sads when you're feeling sad, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling overwhelmed by life? What are some things you do to help you get through it? Obviously, the most important thing you can do when you're feeling overwhelmed is to break it apart and do the stuff that you got to do. You got to find the job, you got to sell your house, you got to finish the work project, you got to do your school assignments or whatever. That's really the only way out of those situations. But obviously, if it was that easy, then no one would have these kinds of struggles. So, what are some other like self care? That's a good word, self care. My preferred method is self care. If anyone has anything like that you want to share, just to kind of help you get through those struggles. They're all band aids, but sometimes a band aid is better than nothing. My preferred self care is I take a bath and I watch either old horror movies or old musicals. Um, that cheers me up for a little bit of time. I also have a whiskey when I'm in there. I don't know if drinking in the bathtub's a good idea, but I do. But I get a lot of like comfort from watching like old. I saw. Did we talk about this on the stream? I feel like it's been a couple months. I saw Gentlemen Prefer Blondes the other day. You ever see that movie, Oldman?
I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did.
It's so dumb and it's so happy and it's so naive. Fred Undead says, I let myself cry and I don't feel bad about it. Yeah, feeling your feelings is an important but oftentimes a very difficult thing to do. For me, I feel like I'm pretty good at letting myself cry these days, but it's still hard for me to let myself feel that kind of feeling. Those of us that grew up as assigned male at birth kind of people, I think we get a lot of pressure, at least I did, from a young age to not have emotional outburst isn't the right word, but not allow yourself to become emotionally compromised. We'll say that in that way. And so that's hard to do. But letting yourself, being sad isn't a crime. Being angry isn't a crime. Those feelings are yours. And you not only have a right to them, but I think you also have an obligation to feel them when you can. But boy, that is not an easy thing. One of we're talking about things we say on the stream all the time. Your feelings are the only thing that are purely yours. The only thing that really only belongs to you is your feelings, and you're not letting yourself live the human experience if you don't let yourself feel what you feel. And feelings can't be good or bad. There's unpleasant feelings, there's uncomfortable feelings, but there's no good and bad feelings. The only things that have moral value are actions. Feelings don't. on their own don't negatively impact the world or people around us. So they therefore don't have moral weight to them. There are definitely feelings you'd rather feel than others. And that's what I mean when I say there's unpleasant or uncomfortable feelings, but there's no good feelings and bad feelings. Your feelings are your feelings. Yeah.
Tell that to the utilitarians.
um, uh, yeah, but Gentlemen Before Prefer Blondes is a delight. That cheers me up when I watch it. Singing in the Rain is a perfect. It's the greatest movie ever made. Is Singing in the Rain. Um, White Christmas, even though it's a Christmas movie, we all know how I feel about Christmas. Is also, it's hard to not be at least a little uplifted by those movies, just because they're so beautiful and they're so fun at the same time.
I did a cover of a song from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was it last year or early this year?
Yeah, I think I remember
It's
hearing that. It was on social media somewhere, wasn't it? Or did you
oh
send me
yeah,
the link?
I posted it. No,
Yeah,
I wanted to post it. It was Cheer Up Charlie. Everybody remembers the Willy Wonka or the Oompa Loompa songs from
yeah,
Willy
yeah.
Wonka. And come with me, you will see. But I think "Cheer Up, Charlie" is the slept-on number one song in that movie. It's just too sweet and too applicable, and
I wonder if my kid's old
brings me
enough
back.
to watch that. That movie has some scary parts to it, but she's usually up for a little bit of scary. I think she can handle that sometimes.
Yeah, it's just one little part, and it's not even as scary as it's made out to be, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, like the kid, all of the kids more or less dying in creative and horrible ways. I know they don't really die, but it certainly seems like they do.
I suspect that Vivi has seen scarier things.
Yeah, that's probably true. Maybe we can give that. I want to see if I can get her to watch the Music Man. I think that's the next musical I'm gonna try to get her into. Did I tell you this? I saw Paul F. Tompkins' variety show.
Oh, that sounds delightful.
It was okay. He was great because he's always a delightful person. There just wasn't a lot of variety to the show. He only had two guests. One was a
Hmm.
magician slash stand up comedian, and
Okay.
that's a tall order for me to get behind that. That's almost never am I gonna enjoy magician slash stand up comedian. Um, they'd have to either be really funny or really good at magic. And this guy, I'm sorry to say, he was doing his best, but wasn't either
Mm.
of those things. And then
People have been trying to make it work for 50 years,
yeah, I know.
60 years. Has
And
there been a successful one? Really?
there's this woman. Hold on, I'm looking up on my phone. There's this woman that showed up on my Instagram feed because Instagram probably heard me talking about. Um, where did she go? Heard me talking about comedians and magicians. There's this woman. I don't know her at all. I've never seen her before. I just see her on Instagram. Her name's Lucy Darling. She's her screen
Lucy
name
Darling.
is Lucy Darling Magic on Instagram. I haven't seen. She doesn't show her magic tricks on her Instagram, but she shows the crowd work that she does, and she's so good at crowd work. She should just do the crowd work. I mean, maybe her magic's really good. I'm usually like I'm not saying that like I understand everything they do with sleight of hand or close up magic or whatever. I know they're doing something, and I'm not oftentimes impressed or entertained. Maybe I'm impressed, but entertained rarely. But her crowd work is so good. If someone's looking for a couple chuckles, you should check her out. If any chance you're out there listening, Lucy Darling, love to have you on the show because you're super funny. And Your crowd work is, as a crowd work guy, your crowd work is top notch. I wish I was as good as it as she is. But yeah, and then so for Paul F. Tompkins show, he had this comedian magician guy, and then he had like this woman that was like a singer, and she was great singing and super entertaining. But that's it. That was the whole show, and then he did a couple jokes in between. It was I think for it to be a variety show, it could have used maybe two more acts or a couple skits or something.
I
But
was gonna say, as we know, the true magic is the electric of the audience.
yeah, I agree
I'm
with
just
that.
trying to say really like stupid things,
Yeah, but I
really
mean,
trite.
but that's true though. It's trite, but
It's
it's
true.
true. The audience has a lot to do with that. Anyways, okay, I'm sleepy, so I'm gonna wrap it up. Oldman, I'm really glad we got to hang out. I wish I
Yeah,
could.
well, you got me to crack a bunch of smiles and laugh, which I haven't done in weeks. So I really appreciate that, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah,
I'll keep you updated on what's going on.
hopefully I can get my video game situation set up. Maybe we can play some Jeopardy next week.
Yeah, that sounds great. It sounds
Yeah,
perfect. I'm definitely gonna access your Plex after this, and as I am falling asleep myself.
yeah. There's also just something soothing about
Right?
Jeopardy. It's just so I don't know, normal. It's such a normal thing that people do. It's maybe it's also because I grew up with it, and because I'm recording it over the air, it's just broadcast TV, so it
Yeah.
does a pretty good job of skipping over the commercials, but it doesn't get them all, and all the commercials are like for prescription medication or like how to sell your gold on the internet or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's also that's horrible that's what's advertising on TV. But there's also something weirdly soothing about just the mundane of all of that. I'm so glad that with all the streaming services, we don't have to sit through commercials very often these days. But there's
Yeah.
something about the just stupidity of network of broadcast TV commercials that I find comforting for some weird reason.
Oh, I do too. I was watching Pluto TV for a while specifically to expose myself to commercials again because I felt like what is this like? I haven't watched a commercial in over a
Yeah.
decade, well over a decade.
And there's lots of like
Um,
local news where the local news is legitimately like something in your kid's school's gonna kill them. Find out at 11 what it is, and like no, it's not. Stop local news. All right, my friend. Well, I'm glad we got to hang out a little bit.
Me too.
I really wish I could wave a magic wand and make your life better. It's no fun to see people you care about going through such a rough time, but we
Yeah.
all go through rough times sometimes.
Yep, it's all coming at once, but we'll
Yeah,
see. We'll see what happens.
yeah. It always gets worse before it gets worse, but then it gets better. All
That's
right.
it.
Well, all right. So long, folks. This has been the Advice Stream. I'm Jeremy International. We were joined today by my friend and yours, Oldman. We will hopefully be back. I'm not committing to doing this every week because I got a lot going on. But we'll be back when we're back, and we'll find other fun things to do. Probably next week, and Oldman will join us again.
Alrighty.
See you later, friends.
Bye, bye.